Welcome back to Been There, Watch That. We're on episode number 37. I threw a little curveball this week with the 2018, you might call it almost a reality show, a hidden camera show, a social experiment, Derren Brown, The Push.
Craziness.
Would it be fair to say almost documentary?
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of a mix of documentaries slash reality shows slash
social experiment?
Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't even call it a reality show because reality shows have gotten such a stigma of it's staged and scripted. And yes, there were some staged and scripted elements to it, but
I think
the whole point of it was
one of you said Impractical Jokers.
Yeah.
So very similar, but with a more serious tone.
Yeah, much more serious topic.
This was a good pick, Justin. I wasn't sure in the beginning when you mentioned it. I was like, I don't know. And then, man, after I started, and I have a psychology background, so once I started watching, I was like,
that was part of my decision. I was like, I think Dave would find this kind of interesting.
Yeah, I did. I found this very interesting.
I will have to say, Cena sat down and watched with me last night, and Justin, just be thankful you wasn't at our house last night because she's easily startled.
Mm-hmm.
And as we started watching, she was just like full on panic mode to the point of she said, if this happened to me and I found out it was all a joke, she said I'd be ticked. Like
she would have pushed more people off the roof.
Yes. Yeah, there would literally been people.
She'd been like, one for you, one for you, one for you. Hey, you, Derren Brown, come over here. Definitely you.
Yeah.
Well, at the beginning, the premise almost seems ridiculous. We're going to convince someone to commit murder. And you're like, probably not, but here we go.
Yeah, you think there's no possible way somebody in their right mind.
Oh, the Nuremberg studies all show this is 100% plausible.
But just at the premise, if you didn't have knowledge of the studies, just the premise of there's no possible way you talk me into murdering somebody. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
And then you watch it play out, and literally at the end, I was literally sitting there with my mouth wide open. I was going, I was speechless. I didn't know what to say.
Yeah.
Can you fill us in a little bit, Joe, on
give us the
arc of it?
Okay, so 4 people are being put through a huge choreographed scenery created to persuade them into do things they normally would not do. The final minutes of the documentary or the program reveal who would be ready to push a human being over the edge of a building due to social pressure.
Yeah, I mean, part of it is hidden cameras showing, this whole night of this person being increasingly convinced to do more and more things to see if they'll comply, and then part of it's all the backstory of, okay, here's how we put on this huge performance. There's like 70 actors at this fundraising event. There's a fake dead body, which we'll get to. There's, the whole thing's being orchestrated with hidden cameras everywhere. And Derren Brown, this guy, is on the microphone saying, okay, say this to him, tell him this, tell him that.
Yeah.
Because his background, he's like some sort of illusionist slash magician slash a guy who is interested in like affecting human behavior through suggestion.
Almost like organized chaos.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and he was going to study law at the University of Bristol.
Really?
British guy.
This
is all
in England.
British based.
And he saw a hypnotist, Martin Taylor, who inspired him to turn to illusion and hypnosis as a career, hypnosis. And as an undergraduate, he started working as a conjurer, performing traditional close-up magic in bars and restaurants.
Yeah, he's got a background in live shows. People come to a theater, and then he brings, a volunteer up on stage and messes with them, does different things like that with them.
Yeah. It's crazy. So the program starts. They kind of get you. The first thing that they showed in the opening is they convince this guy to literally kidnap this woman's child.
Yeah.
And it was all staged as far as the woman was an actress. It wasn't a real baby.
Yeah. And it was in a coffee shop.
Yeah, and it was literally just a phone call.
Yeah.
And claimed to be a police officer.
Yeah, claimed to be a police officer, and this guy literally just walks out with the kid nonchalant and doesn't...
Yeah, they walk him right through the steps, and it's so crazy because he's like, hey, you're on the landline, set it down, get up your cell phone, dial this number. So not only, you sit there, the whole time I was like, who in their right mind would say, yeah, let me just call you on my cell phone?
Yeah.
But he did, and then he was like, "Okay, see this lady, and then go over and take her baby. Tell her the phone call's for her, and then walk her baby in the carriage, walk it right out of the store,
Yeah.
and go this direction." And
Kind of
he's like,
leads that guy to believe like maybe he's doing a good thing. 'Cause
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah.
hey, this woman is a known child abductor. We need you to like save that baby. So he thinks maybe he's doing a good thing.
It's crazy how easy social engineering is. I seen a video a while back where these two ladies showed up at this woman's house and had just these little lanyards on and clipboards,
Yeah.
and claimed to be from Child Protective Services, and was trying to take these kids, and they called the police and all that, and luckily nothing bad happened, but found out these women were scammers
Yeah.
to have some kind of ill intent with these women's kids, and it's like, holy cow.
"Yep."
Put on a nice shirt and a clipboard
And a lanyard,
changes
and
things.
yeah. Now, so Cena and I were watching it, and she looks at me and goes, "You would do that kind of stuff." She said, "You do this kind of stuff." I go, "Time out."
Yeah.
I do things to mess with people,
Yeah.
but just for either my personal entertainment or the entertainment of others. Nothing to like this extreme extent. And the one story I comes to my mind of, I got pulled over one time. I had a headlight out, and I knew it'd been out. It just, life happens, and I just never gotten around to changing the bulb. So I get pulled over, and the officer comes up. "Hey, do you know have your light out?" I go, "Really?" He goes, "Yeah." And so I played dumb. I go, "Was it my high beam or my low beam?" He goes, "I don't know." I said, "Well, would you mind checking for me?" He said, "Sure." So he walks to the front of my vehicle. And he goes, "Okay, turn your high beam on." I turn it on. He goes, "Okay, turn your low beam on." I said, "Okay." "Yeah, it's your high beam bulb." And I'm going, really? I just convinced this police officer.
Well, he's being helpful.
I know, but it's like, okay, so he's...
So it works, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, holy cow, I just convinced him. And this has been several years. I mean, this is years ago. 5, 6, 7 years ago. And it's just like, and that's one thing that popped in my head as I was watching this. It's like, yeah, I do little stuff like that, but never to this extent. And it's like, holy cow, I would have never thought of doing something like that to this extent.
Right.
And to the extent of just how easy it is to manipulate these people to do outlandish things that, at the surface, you look at the situation going, there's no possible way that you'd set yourself up in that situation. And
part of the process was weeding out like a pool of like hundreds of people to find the ones that they thought would be
most compliant. Yeah, that's how I was going. You beat me to the punch there. The whole walking in, filling out paperwork, and standing up, sitting down at the bell ring.
Yes.
As soon as I saw that, I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is the oldest experiment ever, almost," and pulling it off.
Yeah, and the first thing I thought of was like Pavlov's dog. It's
yeah.
Just you heard the bell.
Being trained. Here we go.
Months before this night of all this trickery, they're sending out this thing like, "Hey, do you want to be on Derren Brown's new show?" And these people come in thinking they're applying for that show, but really they're being like watched to see. Do we have any good subjects here that might push somebody off a roof someday? And the 4 people that they chose, they said, "Oh, sorry, you didn't make it on the show," and then waited a couple months and put on this whole elaborate thing where they're being invited to a fundraiser. That's part of the pressure is like you said, there's thousands of kids that are going to benefit from the money that could be raised at this. Like, this is super important. We need you to go along with these different things.
Yeah, think of all the kids you're hurting by not going along with this.
By not going along with this.
And it's crazy to think just the little minute details, little things that I never thought of, but from the beginning when the person that the target, how do we want to refer to them, as the target or the bait? So the target shows up and
the subject.
The subject. So the subject comes in and they look at the minute details of everybody else is dressed in complete formal wear, tuxes, dresses, all that, and they tell the subject nothing different.
Business
casual,
basically.
It's just a casual thing. So they show up in like a business casual, like a button-up shirt and khakis, and everybody else is in a 3-piece suit. And just little things like that to mess with their heads.
Well, that immediately undermined his confidence. So now he was the least senior person in that whole deal.
Yeah.
And kind of putting a little bit of bait out there, like if you like this person's super important, this could be good for you in the future.
Yeah, because he was a business
to
owner.
get a good relationship with this important rich person.
Yep.
So
Bernie's the
and the little subversive task they ask him to do: carry his bag, go get his bag, move his bag to here.
Well, they just start getting the ball rolling where everything starts happening quickly, and they're like, hey, grab that. And
Yeah, the vegetarian deal.
Yes.
Holy cow! One of you talk about that because it still makes me mad. I'm vegetarian.
So one of the things that questions your judgment line
Or integrity.
Yeah, integrity.
Or ethics and morals.
Yeah, is they go into the kitchen and they have this one plate of sausage balls, and this lady comes in screaming, squawking, complaining. We need this food taken out.
There's
so the guy
with the caterers, they didn't bring enough
Yeah,
vegetarian ones or
they didn't bring them. They're on the truck and they're going to be late.
Yeah, so the guy tells the subject, hey, just throw these on a plate and stick the vegetarian sticker, little flags on them, and just take them out there. So we had this discussion before the show, and Dave goes, would you do that? And I'm going, and from my standpoint, I said, what's the worst that could happen? Dave being a vegetarian, Dave goes, I'd kick your butt. And I'd say, okay, yeah, then that'd be completely justifiable. So then, and I'm going, exactly what would be the worst case scenario? So then Dave brings up a good point of what if it was for religious reasons. I said, well, okay, now that's a whole other ordeal.
Yeah.
So it's one of those, okay, Dave's a vegetarian, and I get a good laugh because I made him eat meat, and he hasn't eaten meat in years. Ha ha. But then the religious side, that's a whole other level of ethics and morals. Do you cross that line that you could possibly be interfering with someone's personal religious, views on?
Yeah, you saw the one girl hesitate. She's like, no, I can't do that. My mom's a vegetarian. He's like, don't worry about it.
But she says it as she's sticking the flags in.
She's kind of like,
That's what beat me up. I'm like, your own family member, and you're burning them.
Yeah.
But that was one of the first tests. I mean, getting the bag and stuff like that too. But he's like, because it zooms into like Derren Brown. He's in the little control booth. He's like, okay, this is a pivotal moment. Will we get them to do this? And then it's like, all right, good, we got it. He's like happy. He's like, yes.
Yeah.
We're tricking them.
It just reeling them in a little more. Okay, so Bernie, as we find out, is the main character of this whole scenario. So he has a heart attack and quote unquote dies. Did you guys? And as soon as I saw this or heard it, I paused it and asked Cena the same question. Did you guys notice that the character that dies named Bernie?
Like Bernie,
Right.
Weekend at Bernie's. Immediately.
I was like, okay.
Even they set him on the couch and had the two guys put their arms around him. Hey, take our picture.
Yes.
They all, big play on Weekend at Bernie's.
Yeah, I was like, okay, so now we're referencing Weekend at Bernie's, and nobody has caught on to this yet.
Yeah, the people that put the thing together, I mean, clearly some of it, they wanted to just get a laugh. Like the drunk people that were coming up to the dead, quote-unquote, dead guy in a wheelchair and messing with him, they wanted to just make the person as uncomfortable as possible.
Oh, yeah.
And get a good laugh at his expense.
So
like, here, you stay here with Bernie, who's a dead body in a wheelchair, and just like, keep an eye out. Then these two actors who are pretending to be drunk come in and start like messing with him.
Yeah. So the quote unquote dead body, what had happened was Bernie, quote unquote, had a heart attack.
It's just the three of them in a room.
Yeah, it's Bernie. It's Bernie, the subject, and what was the other gentleman's name? I don't remember.
He's kind of like the guy running the whole.
Yeah, the guy running
show.
the show.
He was the director of the nonprofit.
Right.
Yeah. So Bernie collapses. And the guy in charge tells the subject, hey, go get Bernie's bag and see if there's any pills in it.
Yeah.
So he takes off, and what the subject doesn't know is they actually drag this mannequin out from underneath the stage, and it is an exact replica of Bernie.
They did a lot of detail.
Yeah.
Like it had bones in it and, the whole 9 yards.
It's like a Hollywood.
Yeah, I was impressed with how good it was.
Fake dead body,
And it's an exact replica. Like literally, they show Bernie looking at the studio, looking at this mannequin of himself, and he says, "I'm inches from it." He said, "You can't tell me that this isn't a real person." And the whole time he knows that that's just a mannequin of himself. He said, you couldn't tell me that this wasn't a real person.
Because the actor playing Bernie, they went in and did a plaster over his whole face and took tons of pictures and did all these details, like individual hairs,
Yes.
putting it into this mannequin to make it look like him.
Yeah, and it took months, weeks to replicate. So they drag the mannequin out from underneath the stage, and Bernie takes off. So the rest of the night they're playing with his mannequin, and the subjects think it's the actual person.
I like how you say playing with, because man, they beat that mannequin up. You're right. The two drunk guys played with that mannequin hard for like a half hour.
Yeah. So they come back out, and the director says he's dead.
Yeah.
And then
the guy's in total shock. He's sitting there like, we gotta call somebody, and then he convinces him, no, this will ruin the whole evening. We can't call anybody. He's already dead. There's nothing we can do. For now, we just need to hide him and continue on with the night. And you can see the wheels turning super hard for this guy.
Oh yeah, you can see the panic on his face and the concern, but he goes. It got me when he had to give the speech. You know, he's like, "Hey, listen, you got to go up there." And the guy's like, "Oh," and you could tell that he's gonna do it.
Because he says no multiple
Yeah,
times.
but he doesn't want to. But you can, I could see it that, yep, he's caving. He's already caved.
At this point, he goes, "I'm already in this deep. Might as well just ride this out."
Because Bernie, he's this super important guy. He's about to give a speech and basically tell people, "Hey, we're doing a charity auction. This is for a really good cause. We need your money," basically type of thing. And so the director's like, "Somebody has to give the speech, otherwise." I mean, this is super important. Think of all the kids. This is going to help. We can't let this night go wrong.
Which I understand. I mean, that is a tough spot to be in. You're sitting there saying, well, here goes a couple $1 million down the drain for this huge push on a nonprofit and big event. It's not that big a deal because none of them know. You know, and the guy was really convincing. He's like, nobody knows what Bernie looks like. Just me and you. We're the only two.
Right.
So, you know, they'll never know any different. No harm, no foul. That's kind of what I felt like he was pushing. The no harm, no foul here.
But you guys have skated over the fact, the piece of Bernie has a heart attack, and before that room fills full of people, the director asked the subject, "Hey, let's go take his dead body to the back room." So they pick the dead body up, take it to the back room. And then, well, we can't just leave him lay here. And there's like a big crate beside him. So they open the lid, take whatever was inside that crate out, throw Bernie in there, and shut the lid.
Yeah.
I can't wait till you get to the next part.
The moment most people know you're not supposed to disturb. Like, it's a crime to mess with a dead body.
Exactly.
So the moment you pick him up, you have to know, okay, now I've crossed the line here.
Yeah, so at that point, up to the point where he touched Bernie's legs to pick him up.
Yeah.
He was free and clear.
Yeah.
He literally could have just turned around, walked out, and said, "Hey, there's a dead body in there," or called the police, or he could have completely handled that whole situation.
He could have told the guys trying to get him to do other things, "You're crazy. I'm not being a part of this. I'm out of here."
Yeah, he had full control of the situation, but the second he picks up Bernie's feet, it's done.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, what'd you think of? You know, they put him in this crate that has wheels on. It's a big wooden crate, and they think, okay, that's a good hiding spot. And then so they go back, and now they're in a room full of people about to do an auction, and the auctioneer says, "And we're gonna bring out a special
mystery box."
A mystery box.
Now we're talking. When that came out, I was like, now they're just messing with this guy.
Yes.
I mean, the other stuff, I was kind of like, yeah, just for kicks.
Yes.
They're messing with him just for kicks.
Okay.
And they zoom in on that poor guy's face.
Oh yeah, he had the cold sweats going on.
Yeah, I had to laugh when they pulled that crate. I was like, "Oh, this is it." And I said, "You know what would have been hilarious is if Bernie just pops up and goes, boo."
It's one of those, you gotta like bid on a mystery crate, and if you win it, you get to like see what's inside.
Yeah.
But they open it, and it's because there's two crates back there.
Yeah. Now they ends up. That's the funny part. He ends up. The guy's like, "Buy it, whatever. I'll pay for it. No problem. Just buy it." He does, and then they try to convince, let's open it, and he's like, no, he puts a lock on it, locks it.
I'd rather.
And then they wheel out a second one. You could just see his face. He's just like, oh no.
I literally thought he was going to have a heart attack right there, and I'm not exaggerating because you guys saw it. He goes ghost white. He starts the sweat. I mean, I think he would look not as wet as if he jumped in out of a shower.
Oh my God.
Like he literally could have taken a shower at that point and would have had less perspirate or water on him than
How long did the whole thing last? Like an hour?
Like an hour, hour and a half.
Because they did that little countdown.
I think it was like an hour and a half from beginning to end.
For his countdown?
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, you talk about the amount of stress that cat was under for an hour and a half. We'll say an hour and 10 minutes. 20 minutes to kind of get him warmed up a little stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
But after the first 20 minutes, half hour, wow.
Yes.
I mean, I can't imagine, when he thinks he said, that's what got me, the whole box thing. So I'll go to my usual question. What was the most poignant scene for you? Mine's obviously a box thing because, he gets through the first one. He's like, oh, phew, save the day. And then they roll out the second box, and I could just see his soul just get crushed. He's like, no way, a second box. What just happened?
Yeah.
Trying to simulate that information.
And so then it's one of those, how many more boxes do they have?
Yeah,
so
I
in
mean,
your back of your mind, you're going,
he's like, how do I spin this?
Yeah. How many more boxes are there? And is this the one that Bernie's in?
Yeah.
Instead of Jack in the box, it's Bernie in the box.
Kind of crazy. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that was the most poignant part for me.
Yeah, soon after Bernie, quote unquote, died. Yeah, just for me, that was one of the big turns for the whole thing was where he was like kind of right there on the fence where he knew he probably should not be in this. And you just saw the persuasion eventually take over. So yeah.
Yeah, right. That whole little section of the documentary show, whatever the program, that to me was the whole poignant part of the from the second Bernie hits the ground to the box comes out. That whole little few minutes right there, that sets up the whole thing.
And then he convinces him, hey, go grab a wheelchair. We're going to take this dead body
Yeah, God.
and roll him through this building out to his car, put him in his car, and we'll make it seem like he died out there. And he went along with that, too.
Yeah, gets the wheelchair.
He said no, like, multiple times.
Yeah.
And eventually he's like, okay, but no one's going to stop us as we're going through. He's like, no, I'll make sure it's all good. And then another thing for a laugh, they're in the middle of an auction where people raise their hand to bid. And they're rolling Bernie out there.
Yeah, and he moves his hands up. And he's like, all right, bid to the man in the wheelchair.
Yeah.
The gentleman in the back.
But Bernie's phone goes off in the middle of all that, so then people are all starting to look at the subject pushing Bernie. Because when they started out, I told Cena, I said, something's going to happen. I said, I don't know what.
Yeah.
I said, Bernie's going to fall out of the wheelchair. I said, it's going to be something like that. I said, I figured Bernie will fall out of the wheelchair, and I'm going to have to try to figure out how to get him back into the wheelchair without everybody noticing. I said, something's going to happen. Then when the phone rang, I was like, oh, I didn't even think of that.
The poor subject doesn't want any attention, and they choreographed it so that as they're rolling through there, Bernie's loud phone goes off, and everyone turns around and looks at him. That's just messed up.
I mean, to just pick on the guy like that, because like you said, Justin, that's just for fun.
Yeah.
That didn't really have anything to do. It wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't part of the convincing him to do anything. That was just to cause sheer panic for him.
Yeah.
And
there's a number of things in here. We'll get to it later, but just a little bit questionable.
Oh yeah.
The morals of doing this to someone who did not give consent at all.
Okay, so this poses two questions. One, does it question the morals of the people doing it? Or two, does it question the morals of the subjects?
Yes and yes. I think all four of those subjects walked away with their minds just twisted up in a metal heap of trash. I'll wait till we get to the end to kind of cover more of my thoughts on that. But
you know how this whole ploy was, people came in to try to get on one of Derren Brown's shows. I wonder if at that point they gave him a form and they signed off that I agree to be on a Derren Brown show.
I think they filled it out initially in the chair thing.
And I will not sue you for any sort of shenanigans.
Liability area.
And then they forgot all about it. Like, well, I didn't make it on that show. And then they realized later they were on the show.
Right.
And they signed off on it. I agreed to whatever Derren Brown.
Yeah, I agreed to be tortured and tormented and asked to commit crimes, inhumane crimes.
Crazy.
So now we're to the point where they drag Bernie out of this room full of people that at this point everybody has seen. They think, and they think Bernie is still. They think that the crowd thinks that Bernie or the subject posing as Bernie is just pushing this old man out into the lobby. So now we're in the lobby, and we can't push dead Bernie out through the front doors because the wheelchair won't fit. So we'll set him on the couch. So they set Bernie on the couch, and these two guys walk in. And I'm assuming those guys was parking attendants. Is that what they was?
No, they're just guys that had too much to drink and were kind of wandering around the event.
Yeah, the main guy knew him.
Right.
And they knew him, so they were related to the event.
Yeah, I just assumed it was like parking attendants since they were standing outside.
Kind of frat
I think it just made their entrance come in from there because everybody else was in the auction and weren't blasted, but those two guys
stumbling around.
Yeah, stumbling in.
So these guys go over and start sitting down and go, hey, yeah, he's drunk, he's passed out. We'll start messing with this guy, and the subject is in a sheer panic because like now these guys are messing with a dead body that they don't realize that it's a dead body. So now they want pictures with Bernie and all this and that. So the subject takes their picture, but he raises the camera to take Bernie out of the scene. So literally you just get these two pictures, these guys from the chin up, and Bernie is completely out of the shot.
Ah, man.
This Derren Brown guy, just to throw it out there, he did another one back in 2006 where he recruits participants to attend a, quote, motivational seminar and then manipulates them into robbing a security van in broad daylight.
Wow.
I want to say, how could he make that happen? But after watching this, it's like, it doesn't surprise me.
Yeah. Now, he works on Panic and Discord. That's the whole thing. You know, he doesn't get, and we talked about this a little bit before we went live, you know. The whole thing here is to keep it, and he says that, you know, we're moving fast. We're starting these. We're going to teach this person, you know, first it's little things like the vegetarian meal mislabel to, you know, pretending to do whatever and just kind of works through it to where it's just quick action, panic. Like, I'm really surprised all this happened in an hour and so, you know, hour and so much time there.
Yeah, you would think it would be over several hours.
Yeah,
but
it
no.
seemed super long because he just got hit, and hit all back to back.
And
so he never had time to just stop and breathe. It was constant, hey, we got to do this. Hey, we got to do this. Hey, all right, now we're doing this. All right, we're already here. We got to do this.
Well, even when he wasn't being messed with, his mind's messing with him. So when the auction's going on, he's literally just sitting there, but you could literally see the wheels turning of, okay, I drug a dead body out of here. There's a dead guy in the back in a crate that we don't know who's going to just stumble upon it or what's going on, and just this whole roller coaster ride. He just running the last 30 to 45 minutes worth of events through his mind, and how am I going to get myself out of this?
It kind of brings to mind almost like what do they call it? Like coaching, but somebody will think of the word. With like gangs that, like the younger guys, you bring them in with like smaller tasks.
Oh yeah.
That are not super illegal, but illegal, and then you slowly escalate.
Kind of like initiation.
Right, grooming. Like
grooming. Yes.
Grooming into the gang. Yeah.
That you start small and you build upon that.
Yeah.
And he mentions it early on. He's like something about there's a psychological thing that's been observed where if you do a small favor to someone, you're more likely to do something more for them at a later date. Like somebody just comes to you don't know that well. Hey, can you drive me up to Pittsburgh? You're like, no, but maybe they bring you in with like a smaller task.
Yeah, will you drive me to Pittsburgh? Absolutely not. But hey, would you care to take me across town? Yeah, jump in, let's go.
Right.
Yeah.
You work
foot in the door technique.
Yes.
Well, yeah, Dave, when I picked this, I thought of you guys like, man, Dave probably got some good stories of like just stuff that you came across with the psychology background of other like experiments out there in real life. And we talked a little bit before the show about how it was the Wild West back in the
40s, 50s, and 60s, even before that. But you know,
you could basically inflict quote unquote trauma or definite stress on people for the sake of science. That you could trick them, mess with them, convince them. Like there's the one where they turn up the electrical shocks more and more, and there's a guy in the other room that they can't see that is saying, "Oh, this hurts," but a guy in a lab coat says, "Keep turning it up."
A guy with a lab tote and a clipboard.
Yep.
Yeah, they did a very similar deal, and you're exactly right. I almost forgot about that one.
Because there's a level on it that's like
Yeah,
It's like
death.
death.
Yeah, you shock them till the
Like the majority of people were willing to turn that dial
yeah,
off
it's like 90%. So what
and
happens?
kill somebody in
Yeah.
their head.
You start
they
out
kill
with
somebody.
small shocks, and you ask them a question, and they got to get right, and the actor on the other side always gets them wrong, and so
Yeah.
they go all the way up to where they're the last 4 shocks, they're laying on the ground unconscious, and you're shocking them anyway. And the people didn't want to do it, but what they found out was if you put a glass wall between them, and you had a scientist with a lab coat and a clipboard saying, "Okay, do the next step," and they'd ask the question, no response, shock the crap out of them.
They try to like ask the scientist like, we shouldn't be doing his
Yeah.
program response was always like, you must continue.
Yeah,
with
follow the
experiment.
steps. Follow the steps.
Yeah, just over and over, same response. Like, you must do this.
And very similar deal. And there's a lot of famous studies that fall right in line with how this works.
Well, you mentioned monkeys. You could train them to start like beating each other. The monkey that tried to climb up and get a banana.
Yeah.
As soon as they try to do that, you beat that monkey. They used to do this, and then eventually you could like take the humans out of it, and the monkeys would just beat themselves up because they didn't want to get shocked for trying to get the bananas. So
Right.
Dave mentioned it was kind of like that stand up, sit down, because in this, it starts out with 3 actors. They're standing up, sitting down. And eventually they take the actors out, and it's all just totally normal people doing this thing that makes no sense, standing up and sitting down when you hit a little bell.
Yeah, and it's literally these people just come in from the outside, and they just look over to their right and see these people just stand up, sit down every time a bell goes off, and they go, "I don't know why I'm doing this, but I'm doing it."
Oh, there's so many. They did the Stanford prison experiment, which was probably one of the most famous. Craziness. If you want to see something, they made a documentary about it.
Some people
Watch
the
it.
guards and other people the
Yeah,
prisoners.
just random guards, prisoners, and then they molded them into following through the roles. It was totally fake, but they ran it like a real prison. They had scenarios pop up that made it like a real prison. In the end, the prisoners did their best to get out, and the guards did their best to be real guards, even though they had no formal training. Got so out of hand. I mean, it's completely out of hand. They brought in the lead experimenter's girlfriend at the time, came in, and she got so sick she threw up. She's just like, "I can't believe you're doing this on a college campus to this extent.
Yeah.
You're doing real long-term harm to these people."
Right.
And he's like, no, we're in it now. We're in it now.
Yeah.
And she's like, she got sick, physically ill, ran outside and threw up. And he's like, "What the heck is wrong with you? This is like the greatest experiment ever."
Right.
And it was. Highly unethical and morally unjust, but it was.
By today's standards.
Yeah,
Well,
oh gosh.
you used to be able to
By those standards, I mean,
scare babies, like you said, Dave.
well, Stanley Milgram did the shock experiment.
Conditioned a baby to be afraid of a furry white thing just by
anything.
scaring the heck out of him when a white rat came into the room, even though the baby wasn't afraid of it.
Yeah.
You could condition them, but
Yeah, so, and then the one you were talking about with the shock, that's Stanley Milgram. That's a big one as well. And that's just, that was done at Yale, I think.
I mean,
That's a big one. That was Yale. I mean,
has to walk away. The first question I feel like everyone has is like, would I do this? And most people are like, there's no way I would do this. But then it makes you question it because like they got somebody. They got 4 people.
Yeah.
3 out of 4.
And it's scary, just how easily it goes. And Cena and I, we was in a situation, not really a situation, but you guys know our background's in IT, and we work with a lot of businesses, and we get involved in things that I never imagined we'd get involved in. So case in point, we had a client, a business owner, who had an employee get arrested because they stole hundreds of thousands of dollars from the business. So Cena and I just happened to be working with one of the law firms that was helping prosecute this person. And the people in the office, they knew the person that had committed the embezzlement. Mm-hmm. And they said, "Well, we just can't believe that person would do it. They're such a good person, blah, 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 blah." And the person asked Cena, said, "Well, don't you feel sorry for him?" Cena goes, "No. They knew what they was doing. There's absolutely no reason, justifiable reason why they was doing it." They said, "But what if you was in that situation where you're falling behind on your bills and money was hard to come by and just life happened and you had all these bills and whatnot. And Cena just shut him down and said, look, no, I don't care what situation I'm in. She said, I would never stoop to the level of stealing from a person to help feed my family, whatever. She said, I just would not do that. And I'm going, and she comes back and tells me this, and I'm going, time out. These people work in a lawyer's office. No, it's completely wrong, but are sitting here possibly trying to justify that person's actions.
Trying to empathize with them.
Yeah, and I'm just going, these should be the last people on earth that...
Yeah, they should be in that role where they know that's wrong.
Yeah.
But so there's an experiment called the Ash experiment, and it talks about how decisions are made based on people's perception and not on reality. So essentially, breaking it down in a quick nutshell, they had stooges in the room, right? They agreed what they were going to answer beforehand. And they brought in one person that was the subject. And they had lines, like length of lines, like a short line, medium line, long line. They put a line up on the side, and it would match the long line, for instance. Well, the six stooges would answer first, and they would say it was the short line. Or they'd go close. It'd be like medium. And the seventh person would have to sit there and decide, are these six people wrong? How could all six be wrong? And I be the only one that sees this?
Ooh.
Or do I conform and say, okay, yep, apparently I'm missing something, and then the answer is this, which is obviously incorrect.
Yes.
75% of them conformed with the Stooges because they didn't want to look like they were incorrect. So now some of that rationale kind of comes in line with this. If everybody thinks the same thing, regardless if it's reality or not, you want to conform and kind of believe it and buy into it and not be that outcast.
Throughout our human history, it's kind of baked in a little bit. I mean, there's probably many instances in the past of some caveman saying, you know what, I don't care what anyone else thinks is like, maybe right now we should all be kind of hunkered down because we think there's maybe a saber tooth out there. There's one guy, I'm not going to go along with the group.
Yeah.
And just runs out there and gets eaten or something.
Okay.
To some extent, we're kind of programmed that we get a little bit of safety by kind of taking social cues and let's kind of band together and stuff like that.
Okay, perfect example, and I'm not going to use the word because I'm not trying to get us kicked off. But the pandemic.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm not trying to get into the discussion of politics and all that.
Oh, yes, you are.
Well, okay, I'm not trying to get on parties.
To drag it into this, I got you.
Yeah. But, and we've seen it all play out, and we've had this open discussion off air. But watching that last night, I was sitting there thinking, there's been certain aspects of the pandemic that fall right in line with this. If you do this, you're a good person, or if you don't do that, you're a bad person. And I'm not discussing in details. But it's like, and then there's these people, here, the three of us, we've all had this discussion, and we've had different thoughts on it. But we've sit here as three rational adults and discussed our thoughts on different aspects of it. But you have some of these people that are diehard one way or the other, and some of them are going, and then there's certain things that all three of us agree with, like, yeah, that's not right. But yet society is conforming to it, and the three of us are against that quote-unquote majority, and it's some of those people with like, yeah, they believe that, but a lot of us going, yeah, everybody else thinks it's okay, so yeah, I should too. What do you guys think?
I think you're onto something for sure.
Yeah, I mean, the studies show that's how it works.
I mean, it's one of those, and I'm not trying to get down to the road of conspiracy theory of, some of these people think the pandemic isn't real and it's all conspiracy. No, there's obviously there's results showing that it's true,
Yeah.
but there's just little nuances that make you go, you know what, something's not right.
Well, and keep in mind, this is one of the things that I find interesting in my own head. As our culture changes and evolves, a lot of what society puts out there changes and evolves with the culture. And by that I mean, like, you look at the different generations we have. Like, the millennials are way less likely to conform than what the 1950s generation would. In the 1950s, we had a world war, that was closing up, and Korean War getting ready to start, and people were all, okay, we have to come together, we have to work together. So that mental state has
Social
now,
cohesion,
has changed.
common values. And stuff.
Now we have extreme sports, do your own thing, dress different, have a different job, And Joe, you're kind of the epitome of that, make your own job, run your own business, be an independent. That's the culture now. So it's really hard to gauge how people will react because the bell curve is flattened out somewhat.
Right.
There's more extremes than there were, back in the day when they did all these experiments. So it's really neat to see how he's drugged something from the past out and made it relevant to today.
And it's one of those, what's old is new again.
Yeah.
And there's some things that just never change. And
and he just put a new twist on it.
Yeah, and it's just basically a rehash of what's been done in the past.
Yeah.
But I guarantee you there's some people out there, they're going, hey, that's something new. It's like, no,
well,
you need to...
The crazy part is the spin he put on it with a philanthropy. Hey, you have to help out millions of kids.
Yeah.
In the past, it's about being right or wrong, maybe, or, conforming to the group. Now it's making this larger decision. This affects millions of kids. How would you jeopardize those kids?
So back to the pandemic situation.
Yeah.
The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few.
Yeah. And it's kind of crazy how he put that social and cultural, I don't know, lingo into this experiment, which just blew my mind. I mean, I know what the guy was thinking because, we all work with nonprofits and kids in our daily jobs and stuff. And that was a question I asked you, Joe. I was like, hey, Joe, if it came down to our local nonprofit here, would you not try to help out? And you're like, nah, I'm not going to go against my morals and ethics, which is admirable. But a lot of people would look at that, same as what this crew did, all four of them, and be like, I can't let these little kids down.
Crack an egg to make an omelet.
Yeah, and the crazy part is they didn't even know the kids.
Yeah.
I mean, they're just sitting there, but...
Yeah, so, I mean, it's one of those, this guy had literally no ties to anything.
Yeah, no
now,
any of it.
If it was here in our local community, we're in a small community.
Yeah.
You could almost get away with that argument because
you could.
Because we live in a community where almost everybody knows everybody.
Yep.
So you would know at least one person's child.
Oh yeah, or something was impacted or affected. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's one of those you could almost get away with that here.
Yeah, the guy had none of that though, which really amazed me. But I mean, if you look, like I don't know how much you guys paid attention to the subliminal messages behind the stuff. Like even like the video screen on the roof is in there.
Whatever it
takes.
And did you guys catch when they was on the roof? And I'm not trying to fast forward to the end, but did you guys hear that?
Yeah, it was playing on that video screen on the roof. Yeah.
And the actors were saying that too, like, hey, you got to do whatever it takes.
Yeah, whatever it takes.
Yeah, we should fast forward a little bit. I mean, the big finale of this, basically.
Oh gosh.
We find out that, Bernie's wife comes in. She's like, I've been trying to get a hold of him. Where is he? And you can see this poor subject look on his face.
Yeah, and
he has to sit there and lie to this guy's wife that I've been carrying your dead husband around.
Yeah, and at this point they have
he didn't take his pills. He needs his pills.
Yeah, and at this point they moved Bernie out of the main hallway and moved him into the stairwell.
And kicked him. Well, he didn't.
Yeah.
Some of them
we got to apply some bruises to
this
cat.
They said, we got to make it look like he fell down the steps. Some of the subjects kicked him, some didn't.
So me, I love a good crime series, these documentary stuff. And I'm going, okay. So if the guy actually fell down the stairs, those are going to be the exact same bruises as me kicking him in the gut. It's not going to leave a shoe print or...
Again, you're using logic and reasoning, Joe, and none of that came into play for these cats.
Exactly. Well,
and part of it, too, is they were pushing. It was a hurry.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, I'm going to go do this. You kick him real quick.
High stress, high level, high
They're
intensity.
in panic mode.
It's one of those, you have no time for your... morals and values. We've got it's the need of the better good. You throw your personal beliefs and ethics out the window. We need to take care of the masses now.
Yeah.
And you see the wheels turning because the wife says he has a condition, and sometimes he basically collapses, and it's awful. But he's not dead. He'll come back out of it. He just needs his pills or whatever. So you see now the wheels are turning. He's like, holy crap, he's not dead.
Yeah.
And the world starts collapsing for the subjects when they go back into the stairwell, thinking, okay, we got to get him his pills. Maybe he's not dead, and he's not there because now he's come back to life apparently.
Yeah.
And this is where basically the heat gets turned up big time on him because now this Bernie guy is alive and he claims to know everything they did and is gonna take him. He's a powerful rich guy. He's gonna take him to court. He's gonna put him in jail for being a part of this and moving him around and all this stuff.
Right.
So now it's starting to look, in their minds, maybe I'm gonna go to jail for being involved in this whole thing.
Yeah, because Bernie's mad. Bernie's gonna sue them all and get them all arrested, and the subjects are led to believe, hey, this guy has money. He has connections.
Yeah.
He can make sure you don't see daylight for a long time.
Yeah.
So then Bernie just gets mad and goes over and sits on the ledge of the building.
Yeah, at this point they go up onto the roof because they had gone up there early in the day.
Yeah.
To kind of be like, oh, look over there. That's where the new children's center is going to be built and all this stuff.
Yeah. So Bernie's over there trying to cool down, and the whole time I'm sitting there thinking, okay, the way Bernie's sitting there, that's not just a normal way a person would sit on a ledge. So should that not throw? I mean,
well,
of course,
hold on, they set it up earlier because Bernie climbed up there and they're like, oh, hey, that's dangerous, don't sit up there. And he kind of was like,
Bernie's the kind of guy that likes to sit on a ledge and smoke a cigarette.
Right. But you see how he's sitting there. You know, he looks like he's bracing. He's waiting for somebody to push him. It's like. Would that not trigger anything? Like, hey, this guy, I know he likes sitting on the ledge, but he's not sitting right.
That's the thing, though. They're in survival mode. They've had too many scenarios thrown at them. They're in panic. Yeah. You know, they got the cold sweats. They have to make a decision right now because once he backs off that ledge, game's over.
More of the elaborate planning because this is a real building that if you fell off, you would absolutely die. But, they've got these. Like a harness hooked up to him.
They had
this whole system to where if they push him, he's basically going to there's a pad on the side of the building, they're going to let him down slowly. But for the subject, they don't know any of that. They see a building where if I push this guy, he's done.
Yeah, so the board of directors for this quote-unquote charity, they're all just telling the subject, hey, you need to push them off. And I'm going, wait a minute, why don't you lug nuts push him off if this is so important to you? And I'm thinking, if I was a subject, look, I have no ties to this. I'm making nothing out of this whole ordeal. If anything, I'm going to jail for what I did earlier.
The building contractor guy, he's going to make a lot of money, but you're not going to see any of that.
Yeah, and it's like...
You're going to push him up so that he doesn't lose his building contract?
You have a stake in this. I'm getting nothing out of this. If anything, I'm like shortening my life at this point due to the stress. You push him off.
Well, up until that point, though, he'd done all the dirty deeds.
Right. Yeah, at this point,
he was on the hook for the majority of everything.
So that's why the pressure was like, you're going to jail anyway.
Yeah.
So
save us all.
Yeah. So you could either go ahead and just, face the music and go to jail, or push the guy off the ledge and maybe, and we'll all get our story straight, and maybe we'll just get out of this scot-free. And you see them trying to weigh the good with the bad.
Well, and they made it an us versus Bernie issue.
Yes.
Instead of a, hey,
like we're all together.
And we support you.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. So they're giving positive reinforcement based on, a fallacy.
Yeah.
And that, but I mean, I don't know.
And going back to the pandemic, us versus them, we're all in this together.
Oh, yeah.
And it's going, and I hate going back to that reference, but that's just what kept going through my mind is that, holy cow.
In our lifetimes, we're kind of seeing
we're watching this all play out, and I'm going, it's a mind warp. It's kind of scary.
Yeah.
I was like, holy cow,
That's when I got done with this, I was like, holy smokes, Justin just hit a home run.
Yes.
I don't care if the movie's that good or not, but the idea behind it and how much it made me think, I was like,
Yeah, because then you just start going down this road of things that you're seeing play out in real life and going,
yeah. When I got to the end, I was like, you got to be kidding me. This really go down.
Well,
and I was super proud of the guy for saying, all right, no, I'm going to draw the line here.
He finally drew the line in the sand.
You do it or you walk out of here. He's like, okay, I'm walking out.
Yeah, and he literally walked out.
It took that whole, hour and some of increasingly doing more and more, but you could see him rubbing his face, and they're like, you got to do it. And eventually he's like, nope, sorry, I'm out.
Yeah, and that part, I was like, all right, good for you. And then they showed the other 3 people that pushed him, and I was like, what the F?
Yeah. I
3
was-
out of 4.
Yeah, I just couldn't
What
believe it.
just happened?
Because so the subject he finally finds out that it's all a joke, or all a hoax, not a joke,
Yeah.
a sick joke if it was.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
So then they then they show you that this wasn't the only time they've done it. They've done this over the past week, and 3 other people they've done this to, and they show
I think they
everybody
did
else.
it all on the same day.
No, I thought it was over several days.
Yeah, a couple days. Or
A couple days.
Yeah.
So
Because sometimes it's like during the daytime.
yes,
Yeah,
yeah,
some
the
at
ones-
night.
yeah. So they show you all of this.
The highlight reel.
The highlight reel of everybody else falling right in line. Everybody's picking up the
Kicking
dead
Oh,
body.
they kicked him, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
it's-
So the subject that the main focal point, he refuses to kick Bernie.
Yeah.
The other 3, they're shooting for the moon.
Oh,
I
the one
mean,
person, he's like, hey, you got to kick him harder and do it again.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, he's trying to kick.
Wow.
Yeah, he's trying to hit the field goal post. In the 4th quarter, we're down by 2, and there's 3 seconds on the clock. I mean, he's trying to just kick it between the goal post here, and so then we get to the final scene of the other 3 subjects. The 2 ladies, it's almost with no hesitation. It's scary because they literally just walk up, and go boop. The guy, he stops, stutter steps, thinks, and you can see the gears turning.
He stands right behind him for like 30 seconds, like about to do it, and he's like,
Yeah. And no, like, I'm sorry or nothing, just.
Yep.
And I'm just.
yeah.
Literally, I'm sitting there, my
Yeah.
jaw just.
Yeah.
I had nothing to say. I was.
Well, the one lady,
Sick.
she almost pushed him like that, or like
Yeah, just barely touched him. It's
and
like.
Bernie kind of like fell off, like he had to like push himself almost.
Yeah, so there's an episode of Andy Griffith's show where Opie and his friend take. They take Andy's car. Andy parks the car in front of the courthouse, and the boys put the car in gear and push it in front of the fire hydrant as a joke. And Opie goes, "Well, it was mostly Tommy. I didn't push that hard."
Yeah.
so the lady, well, he fell on his own. I didn't push him that hard.
Yeah, he was already in a dangerous situation.
Yeah, he was going to fall off regardless, but I didn't push him that hard. I just kind of tapped him and he fell.
Well, we're able to like watch this comfortably from a couch.
Yes.
These poor people, but I think Dave, he's zeroed in on it though. I mean, we're wondering how, but like you said, the pressure, the combination of
The panic.
everything, that it seems like that has to be the explanation because you wonder,
Oh,
what
yeah.
the heck?
That it's the Nuremberg effect, and that's just how it works out, and it's
Crazy.
kind of crazy. What blew me away, the whole time once I saw where this was going, and then I saw the 3 people that actually pushed him, I was like, how are they going to live with themselves after this?
Yes.
Because now they know they will murder someone to stay out of jail.
And that's what I told Justin. I would love to speak with
There
these
needs to
people
be
after the
there
fact.
needs to be a follow up.
Where are
Yeah.
they now?
Yeah,
Yes.
a year later, now that you know you'll commit murder, have you
Because
or
at the end, I thought they tried to portray it as like, oh, this
Oh,
is
yeah.
all good.
Yeah,
They were
yeah.
smiling on camera, like, wow, I learned a lot about
Yeah.
myself or something.
Yeah, I learned that I'll be a filthy murderer and better watch your back.
Yeah.
I mean,
'Cause the
holy
one
cow.
girl's like, I've always been a rule follower. Like,
Yeah,
that's kind of her
yeah.
excuse.
Well, then follow the rules of thou shalt not murder.
Yes. It's a very easy concept to do. It's not real
yeah,
hard to
I mean,
follow.
but that's it. Well, I think what she meant is she's a very willing to conform and follow instruction.
Yeah.
Ooh, I felt so bad for those 3
Yeah.
because they got to walk out of there feeling like a heel.
The guy that did
Just
it,
like
he
the-
looked like he was really on edge and
Mhm.
almost like delirious, jittery. Like
Yes.
he came up to him, and said, it's okay, and the guy was like almost shaking, like,
Oh yeah.
Well, and then the 2 ladies,
Let
once they
this be
found out
a-
it was a setup. Oh, great! I was
yeah.
like,
They, like, took
okay,
him around
y'all
and,
are there's
Here-
something seriously wrong
Here's
with
the
you.
cultural lesson everybody needs to know. Women will cut you quick.
Yes.
Men will be
Because-
like, I don't know, maybe, probably not. Okay, women like, all right, somebody's got to go.
Yeah,
Here
yeah.
you
So
go.
yeah, the 2 guys, the subject we've been following the whole episode. He
Yeah.
like literally is on the verge of a heart attack, stroke,
Oh,
nervous
yeah.
breakdown, something at the end. The other guy, he hesitates,
Mhm.
and then you see just the relief on his face.
Yep.
The women are going, okay, great. And I'm going,
That's I almost felt like the women were like, job done.
yeah. perfect.
On to the next task.
Yeah, no harm, no foul. And I'm going,
yeah, that's crazy. And I don't mean to be sexist about it, but I mean,
it's just the way it played out.
The two ladies made up their minds. They made a decision, and they were like, all right, God, this is how it is. The guys were like, I don't know. What do we do? Blah, blah, blah.
Okay, so what I want to know is the two ladies, are they married? 3 questions. 1, are they married? 2, have their spouses seen this?
Yeah.
And 3, what are their spouses' reactions to
Well,
this? When
number
the
4
ladies...
is, are their spouses still alive?
True. Or
Now,
did they
now
care?
they're like, hey, we'll bruise you up a little bit, choke you out, and you'll be found in your car. I already know the plan.
Yeah, or, okay, so... Okay, I want to hear the conversation when they come home.
Yeah.
Hey, honey, how's your day? Oh,
I pushed the guy off the building,
Yeah,
but it's okay. It was all a hoax.
yeah, I killed a guy, but come to find out, he's okay. What?
What are you talking about?
This is true. What do they tell their parents? I mean, you
Co-workers the next day, you go to work.
Yeah.
Hey, how was your night last night? I killed a guy. What?
yeah, I mean, what do you tell your parents? Hey, you raised me right. I shoved a guy off the building.
Okay, so... Okay,
Good news is I'm not going to jail.
Yeah.
And I wasn't going to jail either way, so it's great.
Yeah. So then now,
Ugh.
if you try to keep it quiet, you don't want people to find out, but yet a family member or a friend stumbles upon this documentary and sees you in it.
Yeah.
Well, and Derren Brown kind of pops out and he's like, kind of trying to, the ones who pushed him, he's trying to reassure him, like, it's okay, like, most people would do it or something. But
Oh, yeah. Don't worry, you're as dumb as
Trying to
most
make
people.
him-
You'll commit murder.
Yeah.
But it seemed a little disingenuous. I'm like, he's just trying to make him feel good, and he even says it's not about who pushes and who doesn't. But I'm
Yeah,
like,
he
it kind of
just-
is.
It's like, it is. It's
Oh.
you're trying to justify her actions. That's not just. You can't justify that. She willingly killed a guy that she
Yeah.
did not know.
What if they had kids? How do they explain that to their kids?
Ooh.
Yeah. Well, I've got a question for you guys. Okay, in this situation where it's highly selected group of people, they tried to find the most compliant people possible. 75% committed murder through social pressure, basically.
Yeah.
What about if you bring in 4 random people? No pre-screening whatsoever. Do you think that changes the numbers?
Absolutely.
I think it could. I mean, what you're trying to bring into the conversation is like flipping a coin. You flip a coin, and I'll ask you both this question.
I
to
just
see
wonder
where
what
you stand.
percentage of the actual population, if you don't weed them down.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. You're flipping a coin, and it's random each time, so it's 50-50 regardless when they walk in the door, so it's going to be 50-50.
Right.
So I don't know how many people know this, but if you flip a quarter, so Joe, I'll ask you. Justin might have heard me say this one before. You flip a quarter 10 times.
Mm-hmm.
9 times, the first 9 times it comes up head. What are the odds on the 10th time it'll come up heads again?
Still 50-50.
Still 50-50.
Yeah.
A lot of people will look at that, especially in Vegas. And they're like, it's got to be. The odds have to increase. They
Yeah,
don't.
No.
Just over the long term, it
Yeah.
has to even out to 50-50. So you're saying out of 100 flips, 50 of them will be heads, 50 will be tails.
Right.
It could be 20 in a row heads, and then
Yeah.
20 in a row tails, and
Yeah.
then 10 mixed. It
Yeah.
could be any of those things.
Right.
So my point is, when you bring those people off the street, it's 50-50. Because you just don't know. And what they did was they made it, 97 out of 100
Right.
by doing the little tests ahead of time.
They almost got the one guy who didn't do it. I mean, I don't know. It seemed like he wasn't going to do it all along, but he went along with so much else.
He kept caving, and he kept caving.
Yeah.
And I just,
He
in my
almost-
mind, I kept saying, you're building a case against yourself here. Once you go along with one thing, and then you cave on doing the speech, and then you cave on this, and then I think what got him was when the wife showed up. When the wife showed up, he kind of put the brakes on hard.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, because now it's just it's just not an old man by himself. Now it's a man with a wife, possibly a family. Because before it was like he kept saying, nobody knows what he looks like. Just me and you, man. Nobody else knows. And that kind of gives you that safety.
Yeah, like, okay, we can
it's
do
just
this.
us. You and I are both in this evenly.
Yes.
And then when the wife came in and then the people on the roof got involved, it was no longer an even deal that you could hide. More people knew.
Well, and it's funny, it all got started by meatballs.
Isn't that crazy?
Yes. And it's one of those.
Hey, will you lie about being a vegetarian?
Yeah, and it's one of those. He kind of laughed while he was putting the flags in, and it's one of the, and again it's one of those. Yeah, in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, how bad is it?
Overall, I mean, there are situations like we talked about the whole religious thing.
Yeah.
But overall, no harm, no foul. Nobody's going to. Well, most people aren't going to die if they eat a meatball.
Right. But I mean, yeah. I mean, that's just the small one. But yeah.
But to watch it just escalate into where it did, it's just.
Well, what do you think, Joe? Is Derren Brown and his whole crew for doing this to poor, unwitting people? Are they unethical? Where do you fall with this? Or do you kind of say, well, it's kind of their fault for going? I mean, they could have walked out at any time.
That it's a very complex question, a very good question, but a very complex question. So from Derren Brown and his crew, I think it starts back of what was his intent for this. If he was doing it to show people's like, look, people aren't as complex and sophisticated as what we think we are. A person is smart, but people are stupid. I mean, obviously. And watch this documentary and then argue me that statement.
So,
But if he's doing
on
it for
Justin's side here, I want to know ethical or unethical.
okay, so if he's doing it to show as like a teaching tool of showing people like, you know, you're not as complex and ethical as what you think you are. You're more social conform. Okay, from an educational standpoint,
let's
yes.
take that out of it, though.
Okay.
Let's just take it out of it.
But I was gonna say, but if he's doing it from an entertainment standpoint, that's completely unethical.
Well,
Because you're just messing with people just for entertainment purposes.
So when you walked away, though, did you think it was ethical? Was it right or wrong?
I think for this standpoint, it was right from there to show people, to have them open their eyes to going, you know, it's crazy and wild ride as it is. It's one of those think pieces that wouldn't be classified as a think piece.
I'm going to disagree with you wholeheartedly.
Okay, hit me.
I think he's an entertainer. He did this to make money, and therefore unethical in my book.
Okay, now that's where.
Now you had the two scenarios there, but I was
Right.
just curious of like when you walked away, what was your feeling about it? And I think he tried to sell it as science.
Okay.
Well, Dave, I was just looking at a review on IMDb, and the person says, "Shame on you, Derren Brown, for pretending you're doing science when really you're making
but he
entertainment
wasn't.
by
Yeah.
torturing people."
I mean,
Okay.
he made a movie out of it. He's doing it for entertainment purposes. He's selling it.
Okay, if that's the case, if that's the whole intent, then absolutely yes, it's completely unethical.
And the reason I wanted you to kind of pick your side there is because he sells it as science.
Yes.
And the average person wouldn't know that, but I looked it up as Justin did. So
Okay.
that's why I was like, yeah, this cat's an entertainer. He went to school,
Yeah,
changed
if
he
he's
made it
doing
his
it-
profession. That's, it's crazy.
Yeah, because that's where that fine line is.
Yeah.
And we've referenced in Practical Jokers several times this episode.
Yeah.
They do that for entertainment purposes, and everybody knows it's
Yeah.
you know, it's one of those literally no harm, no foul.
There's no
No
real
stakes
harm.
at all.
Yeah.
The worst thing that can happen is
Little
the
embarrassed.
subject, quote unquote subject, might be a little embarrassed.
Yeah.
And it's not of an embarrassment of like these people
Oh
where they
my
killed
gosh.
somebody. It's
Well, that's what got me.
it's just something silly.
For this guy to make money, those those three people had to go home and explain, if they had kids, explain to their kids
Potentially
what just went down.
making,
Yeah.
like, ruining people's relationships with other people.
Oh my
'Cause
gosh.
some people might not ever want to associate with you.
Those three people, if they went home and couldn't live with themselves, what if they committed suicide because they
yeah,
knew they
yeah,
just
there,
committed murder?
there's long-term effects.
Yeah, that's what I
of-
mean. I cannot imagine that their mind has not been altered in a negative way based off of this.
So what I want to know is, did they give them some kind of counseling and professional help after this? Because you can't tell me.
What do you tell them, though?
Well, you can't tell me that they just sent them home and everything's as normal.
The way he played it up at the end of the movie, and I'll key off of what Justin said, he made it, it's all good, don't
There's no
worry.
way.
Most people would have done it, you're in good hands. It's, everything's fine. He's fine. Look over the edge. He's fine. Don't worry. I think he played it off like that and sent him home. And they had a release sign that said, hey, I understand, this is,
Yeah, there could be damage.
yeah, I mean,
Come over here.
Collateral damage.
Look down there, you can see he's on a rope, he's fine. It's like,
Yeah.
that doesn't change the fact that...
Yeah,
Yeah,
in
yeah.
my
Your
mind.
Yeah, in your
but that's what I mean.
yeah.
He played it that way,
Yeah.
and I was like, woo.
Okay, so then so you
He's
guys,
telling him, calm down. It's like, what?
so
Yeah.
you guys,
You're the one that caused all this.
You just killed somebody.
yeah. Okay, so I'm with you guys have convinced me. Yeah, it
Well,
was
I think if
full
you-
on entertainment purposes, and he's right down scoundrel.
Yeah.
Because I
Not knowing he's an entertainer changes your scope.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
'cause I
that's the
first-
difference.
I first thought it was like a think piece of
Yeah.
Okay.
Documentary type deal.
yeah. Yeah, and it's like, okay, I buy into the concept,
Yeah.
but now it's just for pure entertainment. Yeah,
Well, if you look at his other films, he does Russian roulette, which he does with himself, but fools people into thinking he's going to kill himself. The one where will you take a bullet for a stranger? I haven't seen that, but I looked at it and read the narrative, and I'm like, holy cow!
I kind of liked it.
Yeah, he's kind of flirting towards this, and now he drops this bomb as this.
now it's
big
one of those. Would I watch another one of his pieces? Probably.
Yeah, I mean,
And
just to see.
And even just, me being tricked into, stealing some money from a security man or whatever. I could live with that a little bit better than
Murder.
that I murdered.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
It's like you didn't have to push it this far.
Because
Pun unintended, but you didn't have to push it this far.
You didn't have to push
stealing
it.
money from a security van, that is something that you can correct.
Yeah.
You kill somebody, you can't unring that bell.
Right, yeah.
Period.
You can pay back the money, do your time in jail.
Yeah, but
no big deal.
But you
yeah.
can't. But when it comes to murder, you can't unring
Yeah.
that bell.
And that's what I think of my
You
kids.
had to push it to this is for like the entertainment thing. Let's make it a big show.
Yeah.
It didn't have to go all the way to murder. It could have just been, can we convince someone to carry a
Well,
dead body?
it's one of
Keep
those-
hiding it. Get to the
Yeah.
point where they're okay. The car thing is the end.
Well, okay,
That
or
would've
they
been enough.
or they
Yeah.
could
Would've been enough.
they could prelude to the murder, but as the person's getting close, Brady turns around and goes, "Gotcha."
Oh.
Yeah.
That still wouldn't be
Yeah.
as bad because you're
Yeah.
not going through the whole concept of watching somebody
Yeah.
Yeah.
go over the edge.
I agree. If he had stopped them when they were contemplating pushing them or not, it would have changed everything.
Just ask them, hey, will you do it or not?
Yeah.
And they said, no, I'm not doing that. Or I guess I will. And then say, okay, show's over.
Yeah, you don't have to. You don't have to actually do it
Yeah,
because
but
at that
actually-
point they could have said, "Well, I said I would just to save face, but really I wasn't going to."
But to actually let them follow through and
That's such a mind
yes.
twist on those poor people.
Yeah.
I really want to know what happened to them
Yeah.
because they got to be all screwed up.
Yeah.
So, all right, well let's rate this
Yeah,
bad
let's
boy.
rate it.
Well,
We're over an hour.
So I
on
got a
this one.
question. You said they got to be messed up,
Yeah.
like more than what there was before.
Yeah, because everybody always says, you run into people and they're like, well, if somebody broke into my home, I'd have to kill somebody, in defense or whatever, but to push somebody, knowingly
Right.
in front of other people, push somebody off a building, that's the grit that lets you know what you're capable of.
Well, it's
and
one of those.
It's got to be one of those things where you're just ashamed that your mind would go there.
Well, and it's one of those things. Cena and I, we talked about it last night. It's one of those. Yeah, it's easy for us to sit and say, "Well, that's just stupid."
Mm-hmm.
But until you're in that situation, you really don't know what your intentions are.
Go through an hour of panic and discord and pressure, and then say, okay, if you want to stay out of jail, and the thing I asked you before the show, Joe, I have kids, you have kids, Justin, no, but if you're sitting there saying, well, I won't see my kids graduate from high school, college, get married, have their first kids, I'm gonna miss all that, or I push this cat I have no idea about off this building who's already kind of screwy and dying.
Yeah.
Which one are you going to choose? It makes it hard not to say, yep, I'm going to give up my kid's deal here and I'm just going to jail, or I'm going to try to salvage that and have somewhat of a semblance of a normal life and see all these milestones. That's a tough decision.
But then I hit you with no, I would have played Barney Fife and nipped it in the butt. I'd have called the ambulance at the beginning, and it wouldn't even have got escalated to that point.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what a person would do if they weren't under pressure, panicked, and just shoved into the situation that over an hour seemed like it took days.
Yes.
But that's how people react. It's a hard, tough sell.
Well, and it kind of goes hand in hand with our other podcast we just recorded an episode on.
Yeah.
Talk about technology and these scareware websites where it throws people in panic.
Yep.
Your computer's been hacked. You need to call this number so you get the fear factor.
Uh-huh.
And then the social engineering of, hey, let me into your computer. We can fix this. I can take care of this.
Mm-hmm.
And so then you let them in. You've unknowingly created this trust relationship with this complete stranger that has nothing but ill intent, but you don't realize that.
The hero
and
factor.
Then, okay, now that you've let me in, we need to fix this. But now send me some money and we'll fix this. And then you go ahead. Okay, this person, I trust this person.
The day is saved.
Yeah, I'll send them a little bit of money and all this problem will be solved. And I've literally had customers that I've known for years that I've gained a trust relationship with them, and they have come down flat out and argued with me, saying, "You don't know what you're talking about. This guy, You don't know that person. You've known me for years, and you're telling me I'm wrong that this guy that you talked to the first time ever overseas that want all this information, he's much more trustworthy than me.
Yep.
And it's just mind-boggling.
People get in panic mode and make rash decisions, and that's just how it goes.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's rate this baby up.
You first, Dave.
Here's the hard part. I'm torn because I do not agree with him ethically or morally.
Right.
Yes.
I was gonna say the same.
But damn, if you wanted something to think about and you want to think about your own ethics and morals and where you stand and what all other insights play into this, overflowing large easy.
Yeah.
You know, I think I don't know, maybe even mop bucket. I'm kind of torn, but would I recommend it to other people? So I'm going through the factors. Would I recommend it to other people? If I thought they would be interested in the psychology behind it. Now, if they're just I got to have explosions and gunshots and stuff like that, then I'd be like, it's in the movie for you. You got to think your way through
I
this.
see you pointing at me, Justin. I see the head nod.
Yeah, Joe. But I mean, if you're talking about the average person that doesn't care about insight and, you know, thinking about movies and stuff like that, they probably wouldn't enjoy this as much. But I think for the average person, this is an overflowing large in one way or another. Just for the insight and the shock factor and the I can't believe
like
this actually happened.
It could be upsetting to someone too. You might not want
to. I'm
like,
sure.
If your wife found it like kind of annoying, like almost she was frustrated by
it. Yeah.
That's what I mean. I'm sure even the average person would be like, "This is mind-blowingly crazy."
Yeah, I told Justin before the show, I made no bones about it. It's like, you ought to be glad you went at my house last night. I said, or my wife would have been chasing you out of the house for picking this thing because she was on a complete.
Yeah, I mean,
at one point she said, "You go ahead and keep watching." She said, "I gotta go take a breather." She said, She said, "It's too intense for me."
How long do you guys think we've been talking about this?
A while.
Well, I mean, just give me a time estimate.
Hour and 20.
Joe?
Hour and 10.
It's been an hour and 10, but to me it feels like 20 minutes.
Yeah. I mean,
it feels like it flown by just because it brings up so many in-depth conversations about life.
Yeah, I was gonna say that I think this is one of our more intense episodes.
Yeah, I mean it's just craziness. So yeah, overflowing large.
All right.
Justin, you want to go? Do you want me to go?
I think I've got a real short review. I'll just say that us having this conversation, you know, coming into it, I recommended it. I knew that, like you said, Dave.
Damn it, he's gonna make me change to a mop bucket.
No, this is a thinker. But it wasn't until I got in the room and really started to hash it out with you guys that I went from mop bucket territory to I just have to ding it for the morality. Like we said, you could have cut it a little short. You didn't have to make them actually go through with it.
Right.
But isn't that what makes it so interesting? Is that he drove it to that point?
Part of me is like, Derren Brown, I want to give this a mop bucket, but I do not support you doing this.
That's my dilemma. That's my
yes.
dilemma. So, I don't want him to get the mop bucket, but the concept, mop bucket.
Exactly. The concept, for me, total mop bucket. The reality of what happened to these people, not mop bucket.
Yeah, the moxie to pull this off.
Yes.
I mean, somebody somewhere had to sit down and say, Derren, this is a terrible idea. You're going to wreck people's lives. And Darren's like, so be it. I mean, that conversation had to take place, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
If I could just, in my mind, suspend, like, okay, these were real people that went through this, mop bucket. But I just can't quite get over that, so I got to go overflowing just like you did.
Justin. Joe.
Okay, so
convince us. How do we give this a mop bucket without giving it a mop bucket?
Okay, so let me first get my
Your
rating.
Perception might be different, though.
I'm with you guys. Because you guys, after this discussion, I'm with you guys. We're on the same boat, and this is one of the few occasions because usually we're kind of across the board. We're kind of scattered out. I think what's stopping the three of us, and correct me if I'm wrong, guys, I think what's stopping us from making this a full-on mop bucket is his intent was to make it an entertainment piece.
Yeah.
Now, if he would have approached it from an educational concept, I don't think ethically the three of us would have had any issues with giving it a mop bucket.
Yeah.
But I think he was doing it just from strictly entertainment. And from my standpoint, I first thought it wasn't for an entertainment purpose until you guys informed me of it.
He's tricky.
Yeah. So now that I know that it was just for entertainment purposes, it's not a mop bucket. I will not. I'm with you guys. I will not give him a mop bucket.
Ethically, you can't give him a big reward.
Right. Right. And I think, and am I wrong in that thought? Is that
No, I agree.
where you guys
I mean,
are?
we're all there, and honestly, if Justin hadn't mentioned his other movies, I would have been with you, Joe. I'd have been like, man, this is one hell of a social experiment.
Well, even if
Yeah.
And then I'd have been excited about it. I'd been like, all right.
Yeah, I seen where he had some other stuff, and it's one of those. If he was doing it from an educational
Yeah,
standpoint,
yeah. Well, that's what I mean.
Make as many movies as you want. I have no objection to that. But if he's doing it just for sizzle and entertainment,
Yeah. It's kind of crazy.
and it's one of those. Yeah, you guys give me a hard time about. I gotta have explosions and all that. There wasn't a single explosion.
Just some mislabeled hors d'oeuvres.
Yeah. But I mean, this one, this was more of a wild ride than some of these movies we've watched.
I'm still baffled by
You're
it.
kind of right. In some ways, the finale is. You don't want them to have to go through that, but it actually is.
I watched it.
It's like you can't really imagine it. I don't know. It adds a lot to it to have that final push.
I watched it. I watched it twice. I backed it up to watch the people that pushed twice. Because the first time I was like, you got to be kidding me. This isn't real.
Right.
Yeah.
And then I was like, that went down. So I rewound it and watched it again.
I mean, it's one of those. They could have braced Bernie to the point where the people could actually shoved him and he stayed put.
Just trying to shove him showed they were willing to do it.
Right. But not mess with him mentally.
Oh, it still messed with him mentally. I don't care.
I don't think it would mess with him as bad.
The point where they made the decision, I'm shoving, game over.
Right, but they didn't have to live with the flash.
There he goes.
Yes. They don't have to live with that flashback of watching a human being just fall off the ledge. Now, they would have lived with the results of, hey, I pushed a guy, but I don't think it would have been. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to sugarcoat it or lessen it, but I don't think the damage would have been as bad as watching that flashback of somebody going over the edge.
So let me ask you this: if you were going to push somebody off the ledge like that, would either of you have chosen the old little kind of half push? Because I was thinking in my head, I was like, man, if I'm doing that, I'm going to shove him hard to make sure he doesn't grab on and see that I was trying to murder him, and somehow I have to save him because he didn't fall.
Okay, but I'm going to pose a question. What's the situation?
Well, that's the same situation. You're sitting there when you've decided you're pushing him. Like they just kind of, like Justin mentioned, the one lady kind of just like half pushed.
Yeah, I pushed him, but I didn't push him very hard.
Yeah, and he kind of had to throw himself over. But I'm thinking if that was me, I'm shoving him hard enough that he's definitely not going to hold on.
Once
he's going.
made the decision.
Yeah. And none of them really kind of did that.
Yeah,
kind of like two hands, step in, woof, big push.
Yeah.
So long, see you. There's no chance of you grabbing anything. You're going.
Yeah, it's the Opie, but I didn't push him very hard, so that it's almost justified in their mind.
Yeah.
Well, if I don't push him very hard, then I can't be as arrested for murder because it was almost like I tapped him and he fell. It's almost, I mean, they don't say that, but it almost plays itself out. It's like, well, technically, I didn't push him. I just tapped him and he fell.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
Almost like they're setting themselves up in their defense. Well, Your Honor, I didn't push him. I tapped him and he fell. It's almost like I don't know what was going on in their minds. And like you said, Dave, why didn't they just go up and just haul off and just give him a good shove?
I said, we got Joe so excited. This is definitely Mop Bucket.
The episode or?
Everything about it. Mop Bucket.
I knew this would definitely be a conversation piece.
Yeah, I mean, it's kept us talking here for an hour and 20 minutes, wide open, no breaks, no lulls.
So Justin, as your pick, I'm the movie itself, Overflowing Large. As your pick, Justin, Mop Bucket.
Okay. All right.
I'll
I
label
agree
it
with
like
that wholeheartedly. Yeah, wholeheartedly.
Justin's pick as a Mop Bucket, but the movie itself, Overflowing Large.
That gives him the whole 2 movies of Mad Max. You can erase part of that, Justin.
Okay.
Yeah, you can erase one.
This gives me a pass on
Yes.
on one of those.
You've renewed yourself a little. You've dug your way out of the hole. All right? How about that?
Yeah.
Okay. Whew. All right. The Push. What a stimulating movie.
Yes.
And what a terrible thing to do to people.
Yes.
I like how Justin laughed. I was like, you're right. Let's do it again.
Okay,
Let's watch another.
So Justin's laughing. I'm just sitting here going, still speechless. There's just they're just that one little thing you just can't describe.
You know, and what's funny to me is there are people in the world, and I think I grew up with a lot of them, that have been like, yeah, no problem, bloop, and then walked away and been like, yeah, I showed them, no problem, let's move on.
I will say, I've watched a couple of other Derren ones, and definitely I haven't come across anything else he's done that is as morally dubious as this one.
Yeah, that controversial.
He does other lighter subjects that don't quite.
That's why I say he kind of ramped up his entertainment value. He's like, hey, we got to go to the next thing, and this is it.
Yeah.
When was this released?
2018.
Okay.
So it's even recent.
Yeah, well, recent, but not recent enough to the point of I don't know how this thing didn't end up on the news or big, huge controversy, and because until Justin brought it up, I'd never heard of this guy. I'd never heard of the documentary.
It's only a controversy with those 3 people.
But I'm saying
everybody else is probably doing what we're doing, saying, man, yeah, it happens.
I mean, it's to the point of it's kind of flew under the radar.
Yeah, he's a good showman. I mean, yeah, he played it off right. It's entertainment.
But still, I mean, there wasn't any hoopla.
I agree with you. I mean, yeah, it wasn't. Well, I mean, and 2, it kind of ran right into the pandemic. So, but although I think more people would watch it because more people were watching Netflix and stuff.
Well, but people watch Tiger King. Guilty as charged right here.
Oh gosh! don't tell me that, Jeff.
Well, what if
we're friends in that. I don't need you on that train.
They tried to make a law like you can't make any more shows like this. Like what if somebody else wants to come along and do a similar type of thing where they're tricking people into doing?
Oh gosh, I see where this is going,
you
Joe.
A law that says you can't.
We're going to be doing this next. This is our next thing here. Justin's like, listen, we got to do this. We got to one up Derren Brown.
Yeah. Let's try it out on somebody local. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking we go the Impractical Jokers route because that's much more
oh my gosh,
entertaining.
where we are, people they'd be on board. Let's murder people left and right.
Like have blanks and a gun, and then they end up shooting the gun and.
Oh gosh.
Thinking they're shooting somebody when they're not. Yeah.
What state was he in? Where'd this take place?
Overseas.
Yeah,
over in Europe.
In the UK.
Yeah. So I mean that's.
Okay, so I could think of 2 possible experiments out of this.
Oh gosh.
One, do it in the United States to see if it's a country cultural issue.
I'm guessing no.
I'm guessing no too, but that would be an interesting.
It would be because I think you might have more people go like I think their initial screening would be harder.
And then
because Europeans generally conform more than Americans.
And then let's change it up a little bit. In your scenario, Dave.
Yeah.
Small community where
oh gosh
everybody
knowing the situation,
the quote-unquote
personal
subject
impact, personal impact.
Actually has a vested interest in in the situation where in this scenario
Justin, here we go. Joe is pushing somebody off the building to save our community nonprofit.
Now hold on, it all depends on who the person is. I might have a personal reason to push them off, and
that's what I'm saying.
And you're just having to reap the benefit of
I
it.
know this person, they're a scoundrel, no problem.
Yeah.
That's it. Yep. Great questions.
So I mean, it's one of those. I guarantee we definitely get different results.
Yeah.
If the subjects had a vested interest in the whole overall situation.
Yeah, for sure. And I think you're right. In a smaller community with more knowledge base with what the nonprofit is and the kids being helped, it would definitely impact that.
Yeah.
All right. Whew. Man, what a show. What a movie.
What's next? Do we have our next pick?
Oh yeah, Steve's turn.
It depends. What do you guys want?
Well, let's see what's available.
No hidden camera stuff.
Yeah, I'm not going down that road. Do you want a serious comedy? What do you want? What are you thinking?
I could do like not overly serious, but
nothing like this.
Like a real movie, yeah.
Okay, I'll tell you what.
You got some war movies on your list by now.
I do, but man, this one, we've had enough killing.
Yeah.
Let's see. Family, comedy / drama, or do you want straight out comedy pseudo documentary?
Do we want? Well, first, do we want to see if the options are available?
They're both available.
Okay.
I looked already.
Okay.
Did my homework.
Ooh, nice.
So family comedy or just straight out comedy with social moral implications? Or
pick Justin.
Not comedy at all. and we'll go with a drama. Roll the dice, gentlemen.
We don't get 2 choices.
I just gave you 3.
Yeah,
Oh.
you pick the topic and then he'll pick the movie.
What about like an actor? Can you throw an actor out for each?
Yeah.
Let's see.
I like the way you think, Justin.
Okay. I will say 1 has A actors in it. 1 has B actors in it.
Names, Dave. We need names.
See, if I give you the 1 name, though, you're going to associate completely wrong movies.
Yeah, well.
Because this is kind of a one-off for them.
Okay.
Ooh.
So I hate to.
Carrot Top?
No. So all 3 of these movies are movies that are kind of not famous movies.
Ooh.
So you can pick any of the 3, and they won't be like headliners and be like, oh yeah, I remember that, and probably didn't make a big stir anywhere.
I mean, I'm up for not a total comedy, but a little bit of social commentary.
Joseph.
Okay, let's go that route.
All right. Thank you for not smoking.
Ooh.
Have you guys seen it?
I have not
Long
seen
time ago.
that.
Okay.
2005.
It's on Netflix or Amazon, I forget, but it's easily available.
I'm looking.
This one talks about big tobacco and the reality of it. So it's a comedy. It's funny. It doesn't have any A-line actors in it, I don't think. Yeah, well,
I like this.
Yeah,
pick.
David Koechner.
I like this pick.
Yeah.
I'm
This is
looking
going to be a
forward
good one.
to this. Yeah. Thank you for smoking.
Or thank you for smoking. There you
Yeah.
go.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right.
Some comedy, but I mean, if you're interested in how big tobacco ran the world, bam, there's a lot of truth in this one. So this is the comedy / sort of documentary.
So it's kind of similar to like Morgan Spurlock's Super Size Me.
It's a movie.
Where you get
It's
your
a movie.
where you get the documentary side, but you get
Well,
a little entertainment value sprinkled
No,
in.
it's not even close to that. When I say
Okay.
documentary, I just mean they sprinkled some facts in a movie.
Okay.
Like you get insight on how big tobacco worked its magic
Okay.
on the public.
Okay.
And actually congressional hearings, but none of it's real. It's all completely, made up.
Okay.
Got Katie Holmes in it, and you'll recognize a lot of the actors.
Yeah, because the previous shows,
William H. Mason.
David
Yeah.
Koechner,
Yeah.
he's from The Office.
Yeah. So
All right.
yeah,
Good pick.
all right, that'll be next week. So join us next week for Thank You for Smoking. Hopefully
you
you'll
wanna take
learn a
us
little
home?
bit about big tobacco and how the rest of the food industry is working.
Ooh. All right. So for more news and reviews and excitement, it's been a while since we've had an excitement intense episode like this.
Yeah.
Check out our website at beentherewatchthat.com. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast, Been There Watch That, and follow us on social media at BTWTPod, and send us the movies you'd like for us to review, and tell us if we've been right, wrong, or in between. And be sure to subscribe to the podcast. Been There Watch That. We're on all the major platforms. All of our episodes are hosted by Anchor.fm.
All right. Well, an hour and 27 minutes later, for myself, Joe, and Justin, thank you for joining us. And what an interesting day. What an interesting podcast. And Justin, outstanding pick.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Joe,
Again,
Glad it worked out.
I know mine's good. Joe, you got some work to do on your end, buddy. A lot of pressure on you to come through with a good movie for next week.
Hey! I started the trend. I picked Shawshank.
I agree.
I
I'm
enjoyed
just
it.
saying
So
you got to
I
keep
started
the
the trend.
momentum going. That's the overall
Okay.
theme here. We got to keep hitting these home runs.
Yeah. This one. This is the first movie. It's got a double rating. It's got the movie
Yeah,
rating and it's
gosh,
got
yeah.
Justin's rating. Because I can't, it's Justin's rating. I can't hold it down to
Yeah,
to a
can't
lower
ding
standard.
him for it. I
Yeah.
gotcha. All right. Well, the push. What an interesting deal. Fantastic. Okay. And then next week, thank you for smoking.
I'm
So,
excited about
yeah.
this one.
So for myself, Joe, and Justin, we're out of here, and we'll see you next week. Been there, watch that.